Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. I am so excited to have you guys here already coming into the studio. Welcome over there, Miss Allison Skeete. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to join your show. I'm a
Oh,
big fan and a supporter of your show.
and I'm so glad you actually support the show every single day. And so I'm super honored to have one of my studio audience members hand selected to come and be a part of the actual show. And so it's my honor to have you, Allison. Now, everyone that comes in, many of you know the ritual, the routine. Grab your seats right quick, hurry up and turn the mics in the direction of your face. And hey, we're getting ready to have a great episode for you. We're going to be talking about how to be an immigrant living in America. And so Allison is going to take us on that journey today. And I am going to put here in the comments, welcome Allison Skeete. And here you all are, so you'll be able to at least know who's on today. Allison Skeete Hadaway is her formal name. And she said, make sure we say the formal name. So that's what we're going to make sure we go with. Allison Skeete Hadaway. Now, let me introduce my guest to you. First of all, let me kick my show off with my music. I love this music.
Yes.
I forget sometimes that I have a theme song. I'm like, what? I have a theme song.
I like that.
I love it. I
I
love
like
it. I
that.
love it.
Yeah.
That's by Shayla Faulkner. That's much better. Shayla Faulkner, actually a member of our church, she did this theme song for me. So I
Very nice.
was like, so
Very nice.
Allison Skeete is, first of all, huge on education. She's really big on education. She's married with 5 adult children, 8 grandchildren, and she has one grandson. That's very important to note, too, that she has one grandson over there. She's retired after 30 years of being in the gas and oil industry. And as well, she has been a writer for over 20 years. Very passionate about journalism and writing. Welcome, Allison Skeete.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. We are a blended family with our 5 adult kids. We do have 8 grandchildren and only one boy. We just had a new grandbaby, another girl. So they range in ages from 20 to 2 months.
Oh,
So we're enjoying the new little ones around us. And because I'm retired after 31 years in the natural gas industry, I can be a fan watching your show every day. Time is mine now.
that's good. And you look like you're real relaxed over there. You're like, hey,
I
everybody just
am.
chill out.
It's the first morning I've had to get up and get dressed for something in a
you,
while.
you look great, too. So that's a good thing. I'm glad you got dressed up for the show. So
Oh,
glad to
yeah.
have you.
Thank you.
Now, Allison, I know, and with you, I've talked to you before, and you're African American looking, and I mean, it's I'm saying that because when people look at you, they automatically see a brown skinned woman.
Right.
But then your journey is very different than African Americans and blacks that live here in the United States. Tell us about your journey, and then we can even go further. We're going to go a lot further, but definitely tell us on how you came to the United States.
Yes. Well, thank you again for having me. I know we're doing this because you did a show that focused on what's happening now, the movement with Black Lives Matter, and your brother was on, and we were commenting on what was going on, and I made the comment. It's a different view coming here as an immigrant because many people don't realize we don't understand or relate to the African American struggle coming from our backgrounds. And that's where you and I started talking about maybe sharing some of these views that people are unaware of or have not really looked at before. My parents emigrated in the early 1970s here.
Okay.
They came and they got my sister and I a few years after they were here. I was a teenager in high school. My sister had just started high school also. So for me, it was a different view on coming we at the time, you know, you don't have a say in what your parents are going to do. They're
Right,
the ones
right,
taking care of you. So I had a lot of resentment in leaving at that time because I was leaving friends, familiarity, and as a teenager, what do they know? Why are they disrupting my life like this? I was afraid.
right.
I was afraid, but couldn't voice that because we didn't do those things at that time.
Hmm.
You know, I come from a multi-ethnic background. Most of us coming from the region I come from, the Caribbean, South America, are going to come out of post-colonial um, cultures where you'll often see multi-ethnic mixtures of
That's
people.
right.
It's not uncommon. So I grew up in that. My mom's background and my father's background is Chinese, Portuguese, black, and black. You know, so
Chinese.
my right, my actual birth certificate has my ethnicity listed as a mixed race female
Okay.
because that was an ethnicity. It wasn't something that we looked at as, oh, that, you know, it wasn't a scornful thing. It was a fact. It was who you were accepted as.
Okay.
So coming here, I had no clue whatsoever about the Black struggle or anything like that. I started learning that the hard way in school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because when I left Guyana, I was in high school with just about 2 years left before I finished.
Wow.
At my age that I came here, we didn't know, my parents didn't know who to turn to or where to go to, but we were placed by our age, not by our scholastic ability.
Hmm.
So that put me back in junior high school when I had already gotten to almost the end of high school. So again, something else for me to be resentful from. I left my friends, I left my environment, and now I'm repeating things that I did many, many years ago.
Right, right.
So
So
that
let me ask Allison right quick. When you came here, you were in high school. You're saying,
yes,
and you transitioned here. You walk into was a regular public school type of thing,
yes,
and so
yes.
you come here. You're in public school, and you know what? My family, I can't even concentrate because they're gesturing me saying that this light is doing too much on me. I don't something's happening. So they're like something's shining. You know what it is? Actually, let me tell y'all what it is. It'll be very helpful for y'all to know. I actually have a facial cleansing system, and it has vitamin C in it, and it's literally making my skin plump and plush, and it's bringing out some shiny pieces to my face, which is good. So anyway, but I mean that's a good thing in my opinion because I
Yes,
don't
it
want to
is.
look all dried out, but I also don't
Yes,
want to look
it
like shiny on the show. So, but this is a new thing I've been using. So, but anyway, when you came here to the United States, you're here in the public school system. You walk in, you're clearly an African American looking young lady, and you start to experience some of the things that society in the United States
right.
conditioned you to. So now it's like, what was that experience like for you when you finally came into the knowledge of the truth that I'm Black in America, technically?
It wasn't a good thing because it came about by fights. It came about by fighting. I actually had to one day wound up fighting three boys in my school.
Oh my God.
Um, uh, I remember their names to this day: Clarence Brown, James Shaw, and Luther McCoy. I used to sit
Oh,
and read in the classroom because I come from a system where you went to school, but you came home for lunch. That's siesta type thing that's common in Europe. I didn't know that you would not be leaving a school building. You'd be going to a cafeteria to get your lunch, and it's mostly sandwiches and things, foods that I was not familiar with. So
right.
I would sit and read in the classroom, the homeroom, because I didn't know what else to do. No one wanted to talk or sit with me because they teased me. I talk funny. I look different. I would hear comments like, "Oh, who does she think she is?" I did not understand that because I had no kind of clue or inclination as to it being related to complexion, ethnicity, a female, an accent. I had no clue whatsoever. I was not prepared for
Wow.
that. So they kept picking on me. They kept turning the lights off in the classroom. I'd go tell the teacher. He'd talk to them, but of course they left because they figured three boys against me. they're going to win this whole thing, and I kept going to the teacher. And the last time I went, one of them decided when I come back to sit down, they were going to pull the chair out from under me.
Aww.
And that didn't go over well. I heard things like coconuts and all this. They called me all kinds of names. So this coconut went crazy on them because I got up and I chased them around the classroom and I cornered one of them behind the teacher's desk and I punched the living daylights out of him.
Okay.
The other two went running for the teacher, Mr. Kelly. They called him, he pulled me off of him. I lost a button off my blouse. They were chastised, and that was like my first real foray into, okay, this, I have to defend myself from something.
That's right.
In class, we were doing Spanish one day and the teacher asked questions and I responded. Now I come from Guyana, which is in South America, bordered
Right.
by Suriname and Venezuela. And I learned Spanish in school there. But
Right.
I learned Spanish from teachers who had taught me the formal Castilian Spanish way. So
Right.
when the teacher here asked questions like, okay, how do you say, let's go to the movies? And I would say, voy a la cine. They started laughing. And she says, no, she's correct. This Mrs. Jimenez, she says she's correct. That's the formal. So that didn't help me because I got labeled a know-it-all, a teacher's pet, and all of that stuff.
Right.
It was like, what are you talking about? I learned this. I'm not looking at it that way at all. Being cursed out, being told off. It was a totally different concept and environment to move into.
Wow. So it's like you darned if you did, you darned if you didn't, and you couldn't really win no matter how you slice it because you didn't fit in any specific.
I didn't fit in. I did not start learning about African American history until later. In high school, I got the regular curriculum, Black History Month. You do a book report here, you do a book report. That's how I started learning a little bit more.
Right.
But more of my education actively came when I got to college. Because in the early 1980s, I went to college at LIU CW Post on Long Island. And at that time, many of the students who looked like me were HEOP students or students there on scholarship. We had this campus is called Country Club Post. It's the former home of the Post family, the Serial Post family. It's one of their former estates. They donated it for the school. We had to actually petition and fight to get local bus service running on the weekend. Because it stopped at 6 on Friday and didn't start again until Monday morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So students who look like me, we didn't have the country club background. We didn't have the cars. We didn't have the means to get off campus in the same way. If you wanted to go home, you had to leave Friday and wait until Monday to come back.
Wow. Okay.
So this is 1980s, early 1980s.
Right. This is not that long ago. So
not that long ago.
Right back in the past.
It took us petitioning for almost a year before we got suburban MTA buses running on the weekend for students who looked like me. And it came by a group on campus called the African People's Organization, which was led by members of Black fraternities and sororities. That's where I started getting more of the education on Black history and learning more about who did what and what these names meant. That was my exposure and learning why it is I am Black in America. Freeze? Froze. Kim, we're frozen. Hello. Michael. Okay. I don't know what's happening, folks. I think our host has been.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm not even in the screen. I'm sitting here telling you I can't hear you, but you can't hear. I'm like, I'm back here like Allison. I can't hear you.
No, it just froze on me. I didn't see you for a bit there.
I see, I see. But okay, so what's happened? Sometimes there's some technical things that glitch out, but guess what? We're both back. Sorry for the
Right.
brief commercial break. And so, Allison, you were saying, go ahead.
Yes, that exposure to petitioning and getting something done was the first real experience I had with understanding a little bit about the Black struggle here in the United States.
Okay.
I learned even more as I became an adult and I got older and started having my family. When my son was much younger and I had started working, once he got to school age, you need to find childcare after school. You didn't know because
Right.
public school programs only run up to a certain time. I
Right.
didn't get off at that time. I got off later. So I started looking for ways to find a school for my son where he would be in school until a later hour that I would be able to pick him
Right.
up and I would not be interrupting my work day. This is where the real entrenching of Black history became something for me to learn. I found a school called Johnson Prep, which
Okay.
was founded by Mama Ayanna Johnson in Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Oh, good. Okay.
And the school taught Afrocentric history and so much more, the arts, the cultures. It opened my eyes and it taught me more than I ever anticipated.
Okay.
This was also the school that Al Sharpton's daughters attended. I learned about why it was important for him to start the National Action Network. If I did not know that or did not meet him and his wife at that time, Kathy Jordan Sharpton, I would have been responding like everybody else when he became big on the scene. Oh, he's just looking for glory,
Right.
But I got to know him as a parent at the school. I got to know his wife. I got to know his kids. So I understood why he was doing that. It didn't all start out great for him, but I understood why he was doing it. So I didn't feel I needed to ridicule him because I knew better. I
And
knew.
who is this that you're talking about?
Reverend Al Sharpton.
Oh, okay. I think
his daughters attended. His daughters attended Johnson Prep with my son.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I think I missed a little piece of that one part of the story, which is an important piece. So I'm not good at faking, so it's like I gotta figure out who we're talking about. But that's important to know. So where everybody's ridiculing him, you're actually, you've learned him as a person and got to know his family and got to know kind of his thought process.
Yes, what pushed him to start the National Action Network? What made him feel it was so important? Between he and his wife, they were very active in the school. And I learned a lot from there. My son also moved on to Cush Campus, another Black school, which was founded by Ora Razak, the wife of Abdul Razak, who worked in the trenches with Malcolm X.
Okay.
So this is where I learned a lot more about the African American struggle, why it was important.
Right.
And this is where I started learning the endangerment of young Black men in America.
Well, I know you're very passionate about Black Lives Matter, and you really speak up about that very often. And so I want to make sure too that my audience that's listening and watching today get an opportunity to hear why you coming here as an immigrant from Guyana, and now you're here, but you've become so it's like you've taken this on personally yourself. Why is that the case?
We had the unfortunate experience of my son being targeted and profiled. Suffice it to say, he was sitting in front of our home one night. This was the year he'd gotten into college at Penn State Tech. He was home, and the cops driving around the neighborhood pulled up. He was sitting in front of the house with a friend in his car talking. They didn't know him. They didn't know his car. And the result was 5 police cars wound up at my door. and they rushed in, kicking my door in, saying, "You don't effing run from the cops. You don't do this. You don't do that." What did he do? Nobody would answer us. My husband was coming down the stairs and witnessed one of the officers bust his head open. 5 officers pushing in behind him. I'm standing here. They targeted him and claimed he was running from them and he was suspicious. I stood on my sidewalk in front of my house by his car with 5 police cars around there and listened to a black officer walk around the car saying, "Who's this MFer? Who's this N word? What he got in his car? I know this nigga got something in his car. And if he don't, I'm going to put something in his car." I stood on that sidewalk and I listened to that with all those cops right there. Their lieutenant came on the scene. He was white. I called him and I asked him, I said, "Was this necessary?" I showed him how they kicked my door in. I showed him how they destroyed, right by the door, we had like a little curio thing from nail and keys and stuff like that. I showed him how they destroyed all of that. From the time he got to the door, that white police officer, he stood back and you could see immediately, oh, this is not what they thought it was, because my home did not look as they might have anticipated. My house was not in disarray. You can see in the background, I have some African statues here. I love art. And when I was single, every year when I got my tax return, I bought a piece of art from my collection. So when this officer walked in and he saw how my home was set up, this white man stood at the door and all he could say to me was, "Well, ma'am, you know, sometimes our kids don't listen and they don't do the things we expect them to do." They had taken my son's car keys. They had taken his board. That officer gave me back his phone and his car keys that night. They did take him out of here. They had to take him to the hospital because now they had to patch his head up. It took us 4 years of fighting for that wrongful arrest and profiling by those officers. 4 years. When they depositioned me and my husband, again, the prosecuting attorneys were stuck when we got in. They walked in. "You're the parents?" Yes, we didn't look like they expected us. They had me for more than 2 hours doing that deposition and tried so many times to say, "Oh, well, you're the mom." They tried to put the mom guilt on me. "You're trying to protect your kid. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do that." But everything they said, I had the facts written down. Woman there,
Wow.
she looks quiet, but you mess with the wrong person, you're going to regret it. Because I started finding out legally what was right, what wasn't right. My first boss when I started working at Con Edison was an attorney. And I would speak to him and ask him questions. And I have friends who are also attorneys. So I started asking questions. So they didn't anticipate that we would be aware. By the time they were done deposing me, they spent 20 minutes with my husband because they couldn't ask him anything more. My son's attorney said to me, "I am so glad," not his attorney came, but someone working with him came that day. And she said, "I am so glad that I could honestly tell them I never met you guys before today because they were not ready for you and they did not anticipate the background that you came from."
Wow. Well, first of all, you know, I'm big on Allison not knowing all of the details of the person's story so you can get my genuine reaction as well. And so to hear this, I did not know this, everybody. So to hear this portion of your story is no wonder you're so incensed and like so determined to speak up about Black Lives Matter. Now, your son, he's okay. He's obviously okay. His head was stitched
Yes,
up and patched
yes,
back together.
he's fine, but it took 4 years out of his life to fight before we won the case and we won a civil judgment. You know,
So the
I
police
can't talk
officers
about
in this particular
the
case, are they were they
they're
arrested?
no longer they're no longer on the job. Not in our town anyway.
Say it again because
I,
it glitched, and I want to hear the point.
they are no longer on the job in our town. The one we found out that the officer that was the one who actually initiated and did this and said the words that I said, we found out he had 12 complaints filed against him in the 12 years he was on the job.
Oh, wow. Wow,
We
wow.
also found, yeah, we learned that the others wanted to distance themselves because they realized I wasn't sitting back taking it. I didn't just roll over. I didn't, I encouraged my son. It was hard. It was very,
Wow.
very hard. It was very hard, but
Well,
we went through
people,
that. And, we couldn't really talk much about it. We didn't know who to turn to or what to turn to. And this happened. I live in New Jersey. And I said to my husband, I said, we lived in New York for more than 30 years. And we never had an incident where our kids were ever involved in anything. We never had police at our home. Also, our boys, they were now going into their 20s. If they never got into any trouble or had any police record until that time, why are they going to start doing this now when it's going to make a difference on what the rest of their life looks like?
mm,
So these were the things, but it was learning lessons for us. It was hard lessons for us. There was a lot of hurt, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of embarrassment, because in the community I come from, oh, what is my family going to say? This is not going to just be within the family here. It's going to get back to Guyana. They're going to say, oh, he got arrested. All of those things are factors in the community I come
right.
from. So these were what do I say? Do I let my job know about this? Because all of these things affect your lives. You don't know
Wow.
what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to say. I can tell you one thing. It made my son say, what am I going to school for if
Right.
I'm not going to have a fair opportunity when I get out?
That's right. That's right. Good point. Good points. I mean, this right here is crazy because like everything that's running through your head as a mom. And again, we talk a lot about how we balance in different things in life. And you took great pride in being a mom that raised your children and you did right on course, going to school, getting everything that you know to instill in them. And then they have this one-off encounter right in the front of your home.
Right at my doorstep. It came right to my doorstep. The
So
fact that we had,
what do you tell people in situations like that? And I already know an answer I would give, unless the Lord watch, we watch in vain is my answer. But
yes,
what advice would you give to people that everything's looking right? Everything's going the way you think it's supposed to go, and then things happen, life happens, something out of the norm pops off. What advice would you give people that's watching?
the advice I would give now that I've learned it is stay calm and be humble. Because if I had gone off like I wanted to gone off, you don't know how I felt standing there and listening
Right.
to this officer. And it was a black officer. Who's this MFer? Who's this nigga? What's he got in his car? I know he got some stuff, and if he don't, I'ma put something in his car. To stand there and hear that told me how relaxed they were in doing this, because none of them said no to this officer. None
Right.
of them said, none of them. They just wanted me out of the way, and they
Right.
wanted to get at my son.
Wow. And so that's interesting. And I definitely obviously have to say a quick disclaimer that the views expressed are from my guests in this particular case. And we know that. And I put the disclaimer there as well, that these are real situations, relevant topics, and relatable things that happen. So that's her experience. And she's quoting what happened to her and her family.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my experience. My comments and quotes are from my experience. It's not for anyone else, and I'm not endorsing anything. I'm not saying anything about the police department or anything, because I don't believe the police department needs to be disbanded. There needs to be much more work within the community and the police. Ironically, where I come from, most of the men in my family were police officers. My grandfathers, my uncles, my great uncles. That's the thing. They are all from that background. So I don't feel we should disband the police. No, we don't. We need them. We need more and better community relations with them. That's what I believe. So yes, these are my
That's
views
great.
on my personal view, but I am not against the police department. I'm not against that. So that
Wow.
hurt.
That's good. But that's your own
It was
personal experience, your real life
definitely,
experience. that happened?
Yeah, that's when I
Wow.
learned. That's when I learned that the life, the mortality of a Black male in America is so far less than that of a Black woman.
Wow.
When I realized, I started when my son left here after that incident. Whenever my son left the house, I would sort of panic. I would be looking for him to come back home. When the phone rang, I looked to see, is he calling from his phone? Because if he's not calling from his phone, did they stop him again? He did become a target afterwards. He
He
couldn't.
did get targeted again?
Yeah, he became, for driving his car, the tickets, the stops. They kept, because we were fighting the case. So he became, he for years, for like 4 or 5 years, he didn't have a car afterwards because he would always be stopped.
Wow.
He would get tickets. You'd like, okay, fine. So it was a very difficult time. It was a time, it was a very painful time. I had to understand this is something I have to grow through. My husband is a very calm person. I always tell people he tempers me. I always tell people that. And it took a lot for me to lean into his temperance and his calmness to
Yeah.
get through that.
Wow.
I had to walk through that for 4 years without people knowing what was going on. Going into my office, going to work, doing the different things I did in the community, going to church. It was very, very difficult.
Wow. Well,
It
so
was
many
hard.
comments. So many comments are coming in. I've kind of been popping them throughout because I knew I wouldn't be able to, especially with a lot of our conversation we still have to talk about. I want to make sure you hear some of them. Kalia TV says she said I completely agree. Amina said, "Hi Kim and Allison, great dialogue." Regina said, "Oh, Allison, you persevered." You can comment on anything. Regina said, "We have no control over all situations, but praise be to God who is always in control."
Thank you.
Goodness
I
gracious.
thank you. Keela happens to be one of the young women I mentored when she was in college. She's one of the very successful young people I had the good fortune of mentoring. She started her own nonprofit before she graduated college. She's doing
Oh,
very well. She's a published author, and her work is based on her faith. Her book is called Faith Strut, and she wrote her book and established her nonprofit to encourage young people to stay celibate until marriage, and she
oh,
makes no
good.
apologies for her faith, and I love her to death. She is fantastic. And Regina is someone I met before I started working at Con Edison. We met working at Marsh McLennan um, more than 32 years ago. And I always looked
Oh,
at her as a role model. She gave me some really, really good support and advice, and we're still connected today.
oh, that's awesome. Well, welcome, Kalia. Uh, Shannon
Sheila.
said, "This makes my heart hurt. God bless you and your family." Zakia Mabry said, "Praise God. Pray you all persevered. Without struggle, there's no progress."
Yes, thanks to our faith and my husband always pulling me back and
Yeah,
tempering me, that made a difference. If not for that, I wouldn't have grown as I have, and I wouldn't be here. It was a lesson in humility. It was a lesson in faith. It
that's
was a
right.
less. It was a lesson in leaning on your partner in marriage, because
Yeah.
I had to do that. He may say differently because I was angry,
That's
but
right.
I know that I got through it because he was here. No, he's here.
Wow, wow, wow. There's so many comments. We are our kids' best advocates. That's
There
and I'm a big believer in that. If we don't support and advocate for our children and teach them how to advocate for themselves, then anything is anything.
Yeah, it led me to participate in events that involved the cops. One of the judges and attorneys that I know, he hosted an event at a church, and from there I got several copies of the amendments. And the stress was the Fourth Amendment. to teach our kids what their rights are if they're stopped by police officers.
Right.
So I still have copies of those that I share with young men. When and if you're out there, these are some of the things that this is your right. They don't have the right to search your vehicle unless you give them the right, and how you answer them, how you speak to them. But those are some of the proactive things that I've done. I learned the lessons. I learned the law. I learned
Right.
what can and can't be done. Not everyone has that opportunity or knows where to turn to. I just happen to be in an environment where people are available to teach me and show me, and I can in turn share that with others.
Yeah, that's the thing. In our community, we had a town hall meeting where we had police officers from the CMPD and also the community members come to our church to have a discussion. And a card was given to all of the young people in the audience. And that card, my children have the card. But my concern is now that all this has been happening with protesting and things that's happening in our society, is if they even just go to reach for the card to say, oh, well, this is something then that could be a problem. So it's like you really don't know what advice to always give your children. My advice to my children, number one, is that unless the Lord we watch in vain, and make sure that you're compliant and do whatever is being asked of you. But again, also let's, as a family, pray for those that have rule and authority over us, because if God does not touch that person's heart where they know that they have this authority and this power to be able to do whatever they choose in that situation, we need God to soften the hearts of those that are in authority so that they don't misuse or abuse their power.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes. Then I also try to encourage them to rote recite and learn the specific parts that matter. So, it may be the thing that pop into your head. It doesn't work for everyone. I know that works for me.
Right.
So that's another way that I work with that.
Good. I love this discussion. Thank you so much for sharing that part of your life, which I only know you from this professional, you've been this woman that's in the oil industry, gas and oil for 31 years, or professional writer for over 20 years. So I know you from that perspective. But to hear that, I did not know, and I'm amazed. Let me go to a couple more.
A lot of people that know me are hearing that for the first time today also.
Oh, my goodness. So that's exclusive on the Kim Jacobs show, y'all. I did not know that. Okay. Nova Earl said, oh, no, my daughter went to Johnson Prep. Shout
out to Johnson Prep. Mama Ayana Johnson, yes. The headmaster, Mr. Akinyele, passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. Yes.
Oh, okay. Nova Earl, she's actually goes to our church. She says she's a fellow immigrant Jamaican New Yorker in the house, enjoying your story.
My husband grew up in Jamaica too. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. This is so good. Okay. Allison, you're still live when we had that glitch. So I'm gonna go, okay. So a lot of people have chimed in and had different comments. You guys can continue to share your comments. Allison, at the end of today's show, what I have also is a Patreon member only page. So we'll stay backstage and I'll get some comments from you for the after party.
That's fine.
That's for people that subscribe to the Patreon membership page. And Jeremiah, if you could type that up for me or put it in there, how people can become a Patreon member. You can be a part of that by going to patreon.com/The Kim Jacobs Show. And we have after party comments on there and content. So thank you for your support. And also you can subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show. And you can do that by going right to YouTube, turning on your notifications. Go ahead and subscribe, click that notification bell, and then hitting all. That way, anytime we go live, you get the opportunity to be a part of the broadcast without missing any moments. And I'll pop that in throughout today's broadcast. All right. Good morning, Vijay says. Hi. Regina said, yes, I heard it first here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Much needed prayer, Sharon said.
Hi, Sharon and I went to high school together in Guyana back in the 70s.
You all went to high school together?
Yes, back in Guyana. Sharon and I went to high school together in the 1970s, yes.
Oh, and you're still connected.
I'm still connected with so many people. The longest friendship I've had is with someone I met as a little girl in 1969. We are still friends today. We've gone to each other's weddings. We've been there for family gatherings. We are still friends. Yes.
That's how I am with several of my high school friends. We're friends for life. It's like
Yes.
forever,
Yes.
forever. So much needed prayers. Okay, you said that. And then Regina, yes, prayer changes things. Amen. Sharon, God's blessings to you and your family.
Thank you, Sharon. Love you, girl.
Good morning, ladies. Mother Wandra Audrey said. My mom said, good morning. Thank
Oh,
God for Jesus being with you and your family.
good morning to your mom. I hope you enjoyed your birthday.
Yes, she's had a beautiful birthday. Beautiful. Hi, Allison. You demonstrated God given strength in that trial. Keep up the fight. I am encouraged.
Thank you.
This is good. And then lots more love and things are pouring in. And then, of course, Bajai said, you from Guyana, Allison?
Yes, I am. Oh, Kenise didn't tell you that, Vijay?
That's funny. And love you. Okay, so lots of comments. Let me put in here how you can subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show. We're going to transition our conversation to some more of the professional aspects of this lovely lady. Here's how you can subscribe. All you have to do is go right there to YouTube, subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show, and you'll be able to turn on your notifications. And she said, no.
Now you know.
And also make sure you know that if you want to be a part of the Patreon membership, let me put that on here, because we're going to always have some after party information, and you can be able to go and unlock those by being a Patreon member. Oh, wait a minute. I put that on the private chat. Wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's see. All right. Oh, Cassandra said she loves your story.
Oh, hello, Esquire Davis, Williams Davis.
Cassandra, guys, everybody, just so you know, real quick, if you've heard Cassandra's story, and if you haven't, go watch the interview that I did with Cassandra Davis at the
Yes.
end of that show. She makes a huge announcement. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give it away. No. Maybe I shouldn't give it away. Yeah, I'll just let her go check that story out. Okay, you
Yes.
have to see Cassandra Davis tell about her journey and how dreams do come true. Go check it out.
They do.
Cassandra, I'm so excited because she actually, I interviewed her, but she has been working with me with Kim Jacobs Show, with Balance Doctor, with Gates Heart Foundation, with our church, in all kinds of aspects of life. And she helps everybody in some regard in life. And whether you've crossed her path in some moment in time, she's just been a blessing to you. So go check and see what God did for her by watching her story. Thank you, Cassandra. Okay, Vijay says, my mom very sick in Canada, can't go see her. Please pray God takes control of this pandemic. Are you froze over there?
I'm fine.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Vijay, we are praying and asking God right now to just, first of all, let me just say 2 minute or 2 second prayer here. Lord, I'm asking you right now in the precious name of Jesus that you just allow your healing power to go to Vijay's family, to her mom. Lord, you can do all things but fail. And I'm 100% believer that it's by your stripes that we are healed. So I'm claiming complete healing in the name of Jesus over Vijay's mom's body. Restore her back to great health. And Lord, will be so careful to give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Okay. So thanks for all of the encouragement. Prayers are going up from other people for your mom too. Let's transition, Allison. Now, you are the CEO of Collaborative Media Works. Talk to us about this whole company experience.
Collaborative Media Works is a dream that I have been living in and through for many years now. It's something that I've been doing on the side as I had my career, which is helping to disseminate news, information, tips, and more about scholarships, where to find funding to go to school for people from my community.
Okay.
within the disenfranchised, the African American disenfranchised, the Caribbean disenfranchised community. Because for me, going to school here, my parents had no clue about the
Right.
education system here. My sister and I wound up doing what we could. As I said, they placed us by our age, not by our scholastic ability when we came here. So
Mhm.
my sister was put in public school, I was put in junior high school. And one day they moved her to junior high school because they realized she was doing far above that work. But the
Okay.
junior high school didn't do anything for me. So we wound up being back to back in school, and my parents didn't know. They could have gone and said, have my kid tested to move on to a higher grade or a higher level.
Oh, okay.
So this is where the idea for collaborative media works came along. And it simply means using the different streams of media to get the message out, passing the word to people in my neighborhood, in my community, that they would be feeling more comfortable about processing college applications for their kids, or helping them get through it, or understanding what it takes to pull out those applications, to get FAFSA done, where to get financial aid. So this is something I've been doing for many years as I've been mentoring, and I've gotten to see where the need was. My sister and I have two sisters, but the one right behind me, she and I, we put ourselves through school. You know, our parents had no clue or had no means to help us get through school. We
Okay.
did it. We did it. I also want to say that my parents never told us no to anything we wanted to study or learn.
Mm.
My mom, my mom went through school, what would be to the equivalent of sixth grade for you guys here.
Okay.
She didn't go to high school, not because she couldn't. My mom comes from a background at a time where she grew up in the 40s. So my grandparents got divorced and my grandmother had to go to work. My mom was the
Okay.
eldest daughter. So she was the one that became the home keeper to look
Right.
after her siblings. So she didn't get the same advantage of a higher education. My dad
Okay.
did finish high school. But those two people never said to my sisters and I, education is not important. They
Mm.
never said to us, what you want to do, you can't do. They
Right.
didn't understand everything. They may not have known, but they never
Right.
said you can't try.
Right.
They never stopped us. They never said no.
That's a
So
blessing.
I wanted to make sure
Right.
that there were people like my parents who didn't have to go through, oh, how do we do this? How do you do that? So I
Hmm.
started sharing news and information. I started talking to people. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to study engineering. So I started looking up information, where to find funding for education in engineering, where to find the schools you can go to, what would you be required to do, and things like that.
Hmm.
Working for Con Edison, I became a member of something called the American Association of Blacks in Energy. I would not have known that if I hadn't worked there. In 1970, Clark Watson founded the American Association of Blacks in Energy based on the fact of the OPEC crisis and the disproportionate means of information to the disenfranchised Black communities who knew nothing about how the energy sector worked to benefit them. You had lots of communities that didn't know where their electricity, their oil and gas is coming from, but we were paying higher prices for them. Why
Right.
were we paying higher prices for these utility services and to pump gas in the city than you were in the suburbs? So he
Right.
founded this organization, and I became a member of it at Con Edison,
Wow.
New York chapter. So I learned this is what we do. That's a group that hosts an annual scholarship program, and each individual chapters also have scholarship programs.
Okay.
I, so that's where I started learning and putting what I learned into practice, doing things like, okay, you want to do journalism. When the Posse Foundation became something that went after our kids, saying, okay, we're going to put you all like a posse and we're going to help you in doing this and doing that. All of those things. So I started connecting people with scholarship funds, funding for this, and advising them. Also, people don't realize when you get into a college, whatever you are studying, go to that department of this field of study you're in. More than likely, they may be offering some kind of scholarship or some kind of opportunity in mentorship, internship that would benefit you. But you don't know those things until you get to college.
Now
So I
say
start
again, say again, because it was almost like fast forwarding for a second. So you said go to what to be able to learn more
go to
about?
the if you're studying engineering, go to your school of engineering's department. Find out, because there's always information posted, internships, programs. Find out if there's any kind of scholarship that that particular department may be offering to students who need it. You know, when I went to post, one of the things that happened to me, I had to come up with my own funding. I was
Okay.
already 18 when I started college, so I couldn't depend on my parents' income. I'll tell
Right.
you a funny story. I had to apply for financial aid on my own.
Okay.
This is what this is what a financial aid counselor told me. Based on my needs,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't offer me any scholarship because while I was financially underprivileged,
Mm-hmm.
I was academically overprivileged to qualify.
What? That don't even sound. What you talking about?
Because I
What
had
you talking
good
about, Willie?
grades, my
Right.
grades didn't allow for me to get certain scholarships.
I don't think I've ever.
I never heard
I never
that,
heard of that
and this
until
was
today.
again early 1980s. But I did learn that there were things offered like the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship. So
Yes.
I applied for that. That scholarship helped me with books
Good.
annually. So when you get to college, there are certain things you need to know. People won't know that there are scholarships and internship opportunities available within that department of your field of study until you get there. So because I've learned these things, this is what I have started doing. And this is what birthed Collaborative Media Works.
Well, we
Learning
are
about these
so
things.
glad. We're glad to hear about collaborative media works. And people are like, wow, Kenise is on. She said, great advice. She shared this broadcast. She said, immigrant Americans rock.
I love
People said,
Kenise.
this is
I,
crazy.
I love, yeah, I never heard that. I was I was poor enough to qualify, but too smart to get the money.
That does not make any sense. Your aunt, somebody's here, says, I'm hearing you, niece. God
That's
bless
my
you.
aunt. That's my aunt. She's a very big supporter of the things that I do. I love her. She lives in Indiana, so she's not close by. But I am always, always grateful to her for the chance to talk with her and support her. She bought our book. She bought 2 copies of our book.
Well, talk about that for a second too, because Kenise, who's on here saying great advice. Let's talk about your book that you are going to talk about for a second.
Well, the book, of course, is This Is How I Fight My Battles. This is where you and I connected because you're a part of this. I'm one of the collaborating writers here. Thanks to Miss Kenise Waru. And I really enjoyed this because although I've been writing for more than 20 years, I've never compiled something to be put in a book. I've done a lot of articles. I've done feature articles. I've had a column for 5 years, but I've never done anything with this. And this has been an eye opener for me. There are stories in here that I was elated to see. There are stories I can relate to, and there's a lot that shows us we all share a common struggle.
That's right. That's right.
We all share a common struggle. So, ladies, whomever's watching, get a copy of your book. You can get a copy from me, get a copy from Kim, get
Get
a
a
copy from
copy
any one of
today.
us.
Let me tell you how to get it. Get
Yes,
a copy from Allison Skeete Hadaway. She is the collaborating author that's being featured today here on the Kim Jacobs Show. So if you'll go and just purchase your copy, how can they do that, Allison, through you?
on Facebook, there's a group called Collaborative Support. If you don't know by now, collaboration and collaborative is one of my key words. Collaborative Support, it's in there. It tells you how to order the book from me. And I will be more than happy to send them to you. I just got a whole new set again from Kenise. So put your orders in. I'll appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Kenise. I love you.
Okay, so here, and how much is the book on your end?
The book is $20 plus $4 for shipping and handling.
Say it one more time.
The
How
book
much?
is $20 plus $4 for
Oh,
shipping and handling.
okay. Listen, guys, make sure everyone that's watching today in the studio audience, and you can share it with all of your friends, your coworkers. This is how I fight my battles. And when she's talking in this book about how she fights her battles, it's from a spiritual realm. It's not just out here fist fighting and warring with people, but how Allison Skeete fights her battle. As 14 collaborating authors in this book, and you can get your copy from Allison Skeete right by going to, let me go to that page. All you need to do is go to, oh, here, right here. Here it is, right here. Kenise is sharing with the group. It's a link in the page that shares with you how you can get your copy. You can go to Collaborative Support on Facebook and order your book right through Allison Skeete. And okay, people said they're going to order it today. Ordering the book today is $20 plus $4 shipping and handling. And Regina says she wants hers signed.
Oh, so, you got it, Gina. You got it.
Kenise, not me. The pictures are of my granddaughters. Okay, somebody says, okay. So anyway, it's all different ways that you can get this book. The book is amazing. The primary author is Kenisa Twaru, and she collaborated with 14 of us as authors. Go get your copy today from Allison Skeete. You will be so grateful that you did. You need tissue, so make sure you have tissue when you're reading the story.
Yes, you do.
Okay, also something big happened for you. I know I was going to put your website up and all of that, and you said it's under construction. Tell everybody what's happened with you with something through my show.
Yes, as you mentioned, I watch a show daily, and yes, I have the time, retired now. I was watching your show, and you had a guest on, William Featherstone III. And I tell you, he spoke to me today. He was on for me. I have reached out, and I am now in contract with legacy.com because they're doing my branding and all of my logo and my branding and the marketing for Collaborative Media Works, the company, for my blog, which I am reconstructing, the community collaborator, and also for my nonprofit. My nonprofit is being established in honor of my parents because, as I said, they never told us no to learning or to doing anything. And I promised them that I was going to do this. My dad passed away 2 years at the end of this month, and I had spoken to them about it before he passed. He's not going to see it, but he knew. And I want to make sure it started before my mom is not with us anymore. Not that she's going anytime, anywhere soon, but I want it to be completed so that they're aware this is how I want to honor them, because I couldn't be where I am or who I am without them. The simplicity of their means and their start made a difference in who I am and where I am today. I can tell you, my parents were at every major award ceremony that I have received citations at. Oh. They may not understand again, and they'd be like, who are these? Who's this? Who are these people to hear from my daughter? But they were there. They were there. I had the opportunity to cover President Barack Obama's inauguration. I followed him then on the Whistle Stop tour for the first inauguration. And at the second inauguration, I also was able to do that in a formal capacity, thanks to Felicia Prasad, one of my editors. I can never, ever erase the look of pride and happiness on my parents' faces when they got to look at those official invitation and guest passes that my husband and I got to cover those events. Would I have ever expected that that's where my love for writing would take me? No. Would I have ever experienced that if my parents hadn't taken me on the immigrant journey? No. So I owe them that. And therefore, my nonprofit is called the Six People's Initiative, deliberately encompassing all of the ethnicities that we have to live with and to live together with. So you don't come to me and say, oh, I'm Black, I can't get it. No, don't come to me and say I'm white, I can't get it. Six People's Initiatives incorporates Black, white, Native American, Asian, Indian, and the multicultural ethnicity, of which I'm a part of. So this is in honor of my parents, and legacy.com is helping me with the branding and the logo and the marketing of this. So I thank you for having William Featherstone on the third on here. It's worked for me. It's helped me. And I've already recommended him to a few friends who are going to be reaching out to them. So
Wow.
that's my website and so forth. I can't give you that right now because they're working on that actively.
I am so excited that connections are happening right here through the Kim
Yes.
Jacobs Show, with one guest coming on and another guest hearing it in the studio audience and reaching out. And now they have this long-term business relationship. I hope that whatever is provided here through the Kim Jacobs Show is a blessing to you individually as well. And more shows are coming down the pipe. Tomorrow, I have a young man that's going to be coming on, and first of all, there's like over $17 million contract that's put in place as he rolls out a new virtual learning system for different school systems. So it's going to be a great journey. He's tagged as like the next big tech company guy, and he's going to be
Nice.
on the Kim Jacobs Show. So you definitely want to tune in tomorrow, Allison.
Yes, I
You're like,
will.
nice.
I will definitely. Networking works and collaboration works, most definitely.
Networking works and collaboration works. Those are some key things to take away from what she's saying. Oh, here, another cousin jumped on. Hi, cuz. Eli.
Yes.
I know one thing on this show. If the virtual studio audience is typing something specific about a family, like cousin, niece, and I don't pop it up, they'll be like, what kind of show host is that? I know she saw me say that was my cousin. That's why I take that stuff seriously. That's why you'll see me looking over to
He's
the side.
he is Eon is a pastor and very well known for his gift of prophecy. And he also sings. He has a really great voice. Yes.
Come on the show, Ian. Come on, Pastor, and prophesy over the Kim Jacobs Show. The Kim
That's
Jacobs
right.
Show, we're not keeping it a secret. I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about Kim Jacobs as an individual. I profess and claim Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I'm so honored. Just like everybody else can say what they believe in, Scientology, da 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 da, whatever. I can say I believe in Jesus Christ because that's what I believe in. So we're allowed to
Amen.
say what we believe in. And so,
Yes.
hey, prophesy through your cousin what God
Yes.
has in store for my life. Okay.
You heard that, Eon? There you go. Yes.
Congratulations, Allison. Time for my Bible study. God's continued blessing. Okay. So proud of you and so glad to be a part of your life's journey and life story. So people are really supporting you today, and so proud that you took the time to be a part of today's Kim Jacobs Show episode. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been wonderful being on.
Do you have any last words of advice for before you say the last words, Jeremiah? Put up Quest Church prayer if you're here. Put up Quest Church prayer line. How people can actually call into the prayer line for me. Frankie, check and see if Jeremiah's back there. Okay, and I need that popped in. Then the other thing is, because I want you to close the show out. Tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. And I have a young man that's going to be on. Dr. Kendrick Carroll will be on, and you don't want to miss that episode. Friday is Freestyle Friday. I'm telling you guys already now, it's Wednesday, right? Get your comments and what topics you want to discuss so I can deep dive and be prepared for Freestyle Friday. And we'll talk about that on here. Okay, we'll talk about that. And let me put this in, how you can call into the church prayer line. Pastor Jacobs is praying for COVID-19 situations, people that are in isolation, friends, family, people we don't know, frontline workers, how people can get through this COVID-19 pandemic and what's happening in our society. Constant prayer is happening from 12 to 12:30. So go and be a part of the prayer line as well. My son said, Mom, I'm here. I've been here listening the whole show. I sent another son back. Thank you, Jeremiah. Getting that book, Regina said.
Yes.
Is there anything that you wanted to say on this episode? Now we're going to go backstage and you're going to say some stuff to my Patreon members. But is there anything you wanted to say to my general viewers today before we disconnect?
I'm very grateful to be here today. And I've learned within the last few years, especially as getting towards that retirement age and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, sitting and getting into prayer and meditation. And what I've learned and what I firmly believe in, it reinforces what I've always known, but was never able to put that finger on until later in life.
Right.
Everything happens because of divine providence. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in providence. So whatever you are facing in life, don't look at it as coincidental or don't attribute it to coincidence. Look at it as providence. And let's move from coincidence to providence. When you get to providence, your life becomes a lot more calm and a lot more easy to maneuver. It took me a while to get here. I'm closer to 60 now than I was a few years ago. But move from coincidence to providence. Everyone that crosses your path is en route to your providence. Think about that. Look at that and stop for a moment and say, lead me, Lord. Lead me to that providence you divinely
Wow.
set for me.
Go from confidence, coming coincidence to providence. That's words right from my guest. If you want to hear more from her, come to the after party, which is going to patreon.com/the Kim Jacobs Show. And you can be a part of our Patreon membership and hear more from our after party guest, Allison Skeete. Thank you for tuning in today, and God bless each and every